All right. I believe this means we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, tech fans of all shapes and sorts and sizes and persuasions, welcome to another episode of the Monday Morning Tech Chat Show on the SGGQA podcast channel. I'm Juan Carlos Bagnell, aka Some Gadget Guy, the SGG of this terribly named podcast series. Apologies, I got to the end of like my little pre-show. You know, I do that little video feed into the show, and it was like, oh, I'm just kind of jamming to the pre-show music. I should start the podcast. So everybody, thank you for dropping by. I really appreciate you spending some time with me on this Monday. School is out in our neck of the woods finally. So Lex just started her first day of computer coding camp, which I think is actually just like kids playing Minecraft, and then they teach them some basic like Boolean like operations and skills. She came home from one of these like, we learned about if statements. If something happens, do this. And you're like, well, actually, that's an if then. She didn't think it was that funny. So happy Monday. Hope everybody is doing well out there. I've already said in the chat, and I see a great list of names and faces in the chat, and we're going to do our romper room name call here in just a second. I'm just feeling really weird about this one today. I just like, one, for some reason I'm just a bit foggy, and two, it's going to be a really newsy block. So if folks have like things they want to talk about gadget wise, following up on reviews, some of the hardware that I've been playing with, if we want to talk about fancy crazy audio file stuff, then that could be great. Sorry, I just caught stuff in the chat. We've got some fun people in the chat. We've got Darren Morris, who I don't know, apparently Restream is having issues. I don't know. It looks like it's working fine on my end. We've got Jimmy Fire Dragon. Oh, did it really drop out? Someone let me know if it dropped out, because like I said, I've gotten no indication and everything looks like it's 5x5 on my end right here. Jimmy Fry Dragon, we got Simon says Hypno, we got Command Control Device saying hello. John Gao saying happy Monday, gonna be watching the Spain game at the same time. I am totally okay if you're distracted by the Spain game. World Cup has been interesting to follow. Ron GKP saying hi everyone. We got Scoop jumping in to say whoa. We got the Epiv 88 with hand wave. Restream didn't draw the hand wave, but it's just nice to know. Nice to see you waving your hand in there. And Simon says audio and video are looking good, so we're just gonna roll with it. At this point, there's nothing I can do. So, everybody, we got to jump into some housekeeping. I got some stuff out this week. I'm still working on a sponsored video that should hopefully be out this week. I'm feeling pretty good about some of these things coming up that I know are going to be low traffic topics, but things that I just desperately care about, things that I just think are really interesting and really fun. And we're just going to kind of roll with that. I took Lex out to a park yesterday, and we're trying out some fancy new water blasters and just run and gun Halo style jumping around a park. I broke out the drones so we'd have like tracking shots of us trying to blast each other. Some really fun stuff. So again, it's just taken me a long time. This is the funk that I'm in. It is taking me so long to finish a video. There were some days, some years I remember, like I'd get this thing, I'd cut up a video, like boy, 2 days later I was able to like knock this thing out. And I'm just wondering, like, were my videos just that low effort? I'd need to, what I should do is go back like 6 years and just see like what kinds of videos was I putting out that I could churn just an incredible amount of content out, because these days I just can't seem to get there. That just that total speed of getting stuff out. So let's celebrate the wins this week. I'm gonna screen share this here real quick. So here's this is on the Patreon. The first one is the main one that's going to be coming out this next week. What to do with a laptop NPU. I'm still putting the Asus A16 through its paces, that new Snapdragon X2 Elite Extreme. And I do have a test that I want to that I want to show some of the results of. So using language models on different laptops and comparing performance. I am very impressed seeing this kind of generational performance improvement. But this is also that call. I have a really hard time, and I've bugged a lot of manufacturers about this too. There's a little NPU, there's a neural processing unit. It's a little machine learning component stapled onto the SoC in this laptop. That NPU is almost twice as powerful as the last generation NPU. Outside of synthetic benchmarks, what can we show? What can we demonstrate where that NPU performance is really going to make a tangible difference in real world performance, in real world programs? And I got to tell you, it is not that interesting doing something like, well, I pulled up Microsoft Windows Photos and then I cut the background out from the subject of my photo. Because that's like like a 1 second long press action on a modern smartphone. Like if I just hold up my Vivo here, let's see, I got to get into the photos. Come on, get into some photos. Okay, so here's just like a photo. I'm holding like a little winter ball from that Sony event. If I just long press on that, boom, look at that. Boy, that was immediate and fast, and I can automatically share this cutout with transparencies. So I'm not particularly impressed when I fire up the photo app on Windows and it's like, "Ooh, we're going to use your NPU to cut the subject out and you can blur the background." So we got to find something else. This video I do show language model performance. I run a couple different versions of Llama, and we look at performance, and we look at the token generation, and also the performance per watt. I try to measure like what is the power draw and how does it compare to using different, like if you're using a CPU versus using an NPU. I do show that, but that whole video is still like, please, there has to be other things we can do and show, like, is there a plugin that we can use to edit a photo and time the performance of that, not just it says it's faster. So let me scroll down here. The next video, I had a lot of fun putting this one together. The 8849 Tank 5 rugged phone review, huge battery, big projector, fast CPU. I love these things. They're ludicrous internet connected device appliances. This is not a good phone. It's really not. It's big, it's heavy, it's kind of hard to use. I wish there was a little bit more of like a trim around the screen, because if it's rugged and you drop it, you'll still smash the screen. But I love these things as the appliances that they are, not for the phones that they're sort of just okay with. So, full review on this. What I think is really funny is, like, I put out the video on this, and this is public. This one isn't. I mean, I'm showing the Patreon, but it's not in only Patreon access right now. It's public. I got like a comment from someone who was like, "Oh, who could even want to use one of these things? The mono firing speaker is terrible. The battery is undersized." Like, just listing off all these things, and you're like, well, how can the battery be undersized when it's like 3 times the capacity of the battery on a Galaxy Ultra or a Pixel XL? Like, I love it when nerds like, I know about these things, and I'm going to tell you that this one's not good enough. You're like, all right, cool. Because it really sounds like you're trying to grade how good elephants are by their ability to climb palm trees. Like it seems like you're being as purposely obtuse as you possibly can. So just really, really fun stuff. Full review on this guy here. And I'm still debating whether or not I want to try and do something silly. Like, what I might try to do is there's a headphone jack, and I haven't done an audio review in a really long time, just because so many of our phones have lost the ability to output audio. So I might play around with something like that. I got a comment here from Command Control Device. There are models on anything LLM that run on Qualcomm NPU inside X Elite, but at 5 to 9 tokens a second seems a little slow, but at least there is no fan noise. So Command Control Device, you should definitely watch the video that I made on this laptop NPU, because your comment there would probably coincide with the thing that I'm talking about, where we can test some things and LLM performance and some of that fun stuff. You might want to give it a watch. So Tank 5. Then I also got a video out on the Hidiz ST2 Pro. It's a USB-C cable for high quality earbuds. It's up to DSD 128 audio playback. See, the thing I like about this, and again, if you're into high quality portable audio, you could probably already detect some issues with this idea. So this is a cable, and it terminates in. Oh, I got the cable all tangled up. Now someone's gonna go see, oh my gosh, cables are so inconvenient because like they get tangled and then I can't even like do nothing. So it's got a USB-C. DAC is in the USB-C. DAC is pretty good, punchy little amp, and then it just goes all the way out to the earbuds. This is very similar to AirPods, right? You spend 20, 25 bucks on not AirPods, earpods that have a USB-C connector plug into the iPhone, and that's the whole kit caboodle. But when a part of the cable fails on your earpods, especially around the boot that connects the driver to the cable, then you have to throw the whole thing away. The Hidiz have detachable drivers. So you can pop this little 2-pin connector out, you can put it back in. It works with other 2-pin connectors. So it's not the same kind of dongle DAC solution where you plug a USB-C in and then there's a 3.5 millimeter port. It's not that. It is a more streamlined solution. So I think there's something interesting in there because this is not significantly more expensive than earpods for audio quality that I think is better than what Apple sells for like half the price. So there's a niche in there. Do you want something that's as straightforward as earpods, but gives you more room to replace, repair, or if you want to swap out the drivers, if you want to upgrade? Like I popped my Meze on, and this little amp drives my Meze earbuds really, really well. So just I thought that was kind of an interesting idea. Plus, it gave me a chance to sort of revisit the topic. I mean, we did this, I want to say it was like a year ago. I actually broke down on the podcast like what the scope of cabled audio really looks like, because cabled audio is still absolutely massive. And it's really difficult to get a handle on what people use because we only pay attention to what they buy every quarter. And I think there's a very high likelihood that people who spend just a little bit more on cabled audio have solutions that last them a lot longer than AirPods. 2 to 3 years, you've got to swap that out. You got to buy more. It's the perfect way to keep people cycling on their accessories. But if you take care of some cabled audio, I have earbuds and headphones that are old enough to buy liquor. And I just wanted to wrap this up again. Speaking of like high quality audio, if you're on the Patreon right now, if you're a member on the Patreon, I still have a few left of these promo codes. 2-month free trial for Qobuz, and we burned through. So Qobuz gave me 5 free 2-month trials. You just click on the link and you get a free trial. And I burned through those 5 so fast, they gave me another 5. So I think we still have like 3 or 4 left. If you go to somegadgetguy.com slash, I don't know, if you go to patreon.com slash somegadgetguy, if you're a member of the Patreon, you can jump in, click, get yourself a 2-month trial to Qobuz. This podcast not sponsored by Qobuz. I get nothing for you trying a free trial. I don't even get like a free month of Qobuz for my own listening. There is no benefit to me, but you can have 2 months of the music streaming service that I feel did the absolute best job of prioritizing audio quality. And for the longest time was the only game in town for CD quality and higher for your streaming, for your music streaming. Qobuz is the gold standard for that. You can fight me a little like, oh well, Tidal and all this, but without having to like jump through hoops with MQA and stuff like that, Qobuz just went, all right, big FLAC files. Did the artist give us 24,192? Then you can listen in 24,192. So you can check it out. It's free. Absolutely my favorite. I adore Qobuz. It is my fave. And again, I have not been paid to tell you that I'm not getting sponsors or anything like that. I do have a partner playlist, but I'm not partnered in any way that is a financial benefit or a streaming benefit for me. I even reached out to them. We're like, hey, would you be interested in like maybe some editorials, or we could do some write ups on like portable audio? And then like they're like, nah, cool, okay. John Gao says, I think Tidal no longer does MQA. So the whole thing with MQA is that it actually wasn't a bad idea. It was another multi-layered form of compression where you could squish audio quality into little buckets. And then depending on the player or depending on the situation or depending on the quality of the stream, you could unpack sort of a base level bucket or then expand up to higher than CD quality. I don't fall in the camp of MQA being snake oil. There's some people who viciously feel that like MQA was a proprietary lock-in method of audio compression that was only designed to put labels on products to make them more expensive. I don't fall into that camp. I just think MQA arrived a little too late. That the necessity of having these little compression buckets just outlived it just arrived too late for it to really be useful. By the time those arrived, I was perfectly comfortable with streams. Like for example, on Qobuz, the lowest quality stream on Qobuz was higher quality than the highest quality stream on Spotify. So Spotify, like high quality, was really only like a 256 kilobit per second MP3, and Qobuz, like if we stream to you in MP3, it's 320. And once I started doing that, yeah, my data kind of took a hit, but it was fine. Like I wasn't saving so many kilobits that it made sense to me. Oh, I got to have lower quality than 320 MP3. And then the second I was on Wi-Fi, I would just sit there and like and like hoover up all of these FLAC files. To me, FLAC is like the best mainstream. We squish the file size a little, but not in any way that affects quality. And I'm good with that. I just feel like FLAC is the best way to go if you're looking at CD quality and higher. It saves you. I mean, so my entire music collection, because I also buy a lot of music still. If I buy a CD, I rip it. I at least have a CD quality version of it. I save it as a FLAC file. If I get something from Qobuz, because you can buy stuff on Qobuz that stays attached to your account, but then you can download it without any like copy protection or anything. So I'll buy the album from Qobuz or from an artist directly too. I try to support where I can. And then I just keep the FLAC files. So I don't know. I feel like MQA just landed at the wrong time. If MQA had been a container, a sort of a container platform nearer the earlier days of the fight between MP3 and AAC compression, I think it would have dominated. But as soon as FLAC arrived, I was good. Storage is storage was cheap. It's not cheap anymore. Storage was cheap enough that FLAC files weren't a significant problem. Oh, and I didn't know this. JGJ says Tidal didn't work on Linux easily. Actually, no, that makes that makes sense because the MQA solution probably required decoding and hardware support, and it was a proprietary solution. So yeah, I would imagine that Linux was probably left out of a lot of that. So, short story, incredibly long. Try Qobuz. There's still some links up for grabs. Still some free trials up for grabs. I'm gonna take a drink of coffee here, and then we're gonna jump into some news, and then we'll see. Again, I really want to leave kind of the end of this open. I liked that we got to the end of last week's show because we had the pressure of WWDC. that we kept the show a little tighter. And if we run long, that's fine. I would like us to run long if there are things that you would like to talk about. I would like to open the floor. So let me drink some coffee. We'll get into the news, and then we'll hit the ground running. Okay, so everything we're going to talk about, all of the housekeeping, all those amazing videos that I put out this week, some really good stuff that you'll want to watch. And of course, the news this week, everything will be available on this week's show notes, somegadgetguy.com, where you get all the news, the links, the video, the replay, the audio version, and then the nicer audio version will be on patreon.com/somegadgetguy. Clean it up a little bit more. So I want to start off. We always start off with some political news. This one I thought was. I hate that I'm going to sound like some tech bro libertarian doofus, but this one does make me a little concerned. I think the sentiment is correct. I think the implementation is probably wrong. But coming by way of Deadline, written up by Max Goldbart, UK brings in full social media ban for under 16s. Numerous social media apps will be banned for under 16s in the UK after Prime Minister Keir Starmer introduced landmark legislation and a promise to deliver, quote, world leading action. Children will be given back their childhoods, the government said this morning as it unveiled more detail and started an aim to, quote, capture user to user platforms whose purpose is to enable social interaction and which allow users to post material alongside algorithms. So, I think a lot of people would agree. I think a lot of folks um, would probably agree that this brain experiment that we've been conducting on people since the earliest days of Friendster and Classmates and MySpace, it probably hasn't worked out so great. I feel I kind of feel what bothers me about this is this constant posturing like we're really doing things to protect the children. The children are the ones who stand to get hurt from this. And I sort of feel like grown-ups are actually a much bigger problem. The harm that comes from algorithmically sorted social media designed to make you angry, uninformed, and afraid, that it's really the grown-ups who are more susceptible to this. Especially the older you get, the more you fit into that demographic where you just sort of naively trust something was said on television. It has to be true. They call themselves a news outlet. They couldn't lie to me. And that kind of indoctrination, the way that social media has become ratcheted and so addictive, and again, purposely designed to make you ignorant, afraid, angry, reactive, keeps you on those platforms longer. I brought this up a lot when it comes to gaming. So in a video game, let's say there are these dark patterns or these gotcha mechanics that get you gambling. I've got my Captain America and I want him to upgrade his shield, so I have to go and grind for a whole bunch of these in-game materials. And then once I have a whole ton of these materials, I can't just upgrade the shield. I have to take chunks of that material and throw it into a slot machine, and I might get a part of an upgrade, or I might get nothing, or maybe I'll get the whole upgrade in one spin. But that's gambling. And it's a slot machine that adjusts its payout on the fly to keep you as addicted as possible. We acknowledge in society that at a casino in Las Vegas that you sit your butt down in a chair and you face a machine, that there is a social harm. There is a harm associated with making that experience as addictive as it possibly can be. You cannot change the odds of payout on the fly per user, but we don't apply anything like that to social media. And I am so unbelievably tired of this piecemeal legislation BS. We all agree as a society that scalpers suck. There is no material benefit to someone interrupting the flow or supply of a product or a service to their own financial benefit. So we obviously have laws preventing scalping, but we don't. We have to have these decades long debates about concert ticket scalping. Are we going to stop concert ticket scalping? What about sporting event ticket scalping? What about monster truck rally ticket scalping? And instead of just saying, hey, every single time we've seen people interrupt supply, it's been bad. Look at the pandemic. You wanted to buy a new laptop? Well, scalpers got there. You wanted to buy a new PlayStation? Scalpers got there. And instead of saying, hey, that's all bad, we let that slide. It's still a massive problem today. And so that's where I feel like we're completely obtusely missing the point on social media harms. Social media harms are generated by the platforms to make them as addictive and as toxic as possible so that they maximize their time on site, they maximize their ad revenue at the expense of your mental and physical health. They are trying to keep you ratcheted. That's not a kid problem. There are other harms that kids can fall prey to, just as those similar harms could probably land adults into issues too. This is a massive issue with the entire construct of the economy based on this sort of attention seeking and the way that they monetize. And that needs to be addressed for everyone. So there's part of me you're like, hey, maybe we can at least stem maybe we can at least slow down the adoption of future generations. Just like there are old people who still smoke, but smoking has fallen off a cliff as a fashionable, trendy thing to do for younger audiences. There is a benefit there. Great. We're going to stop them from completely destroying their brains before their brains are matured. But I also feel like there needs to be the same kind of label campaign. And for some reason, we don't do this as viciously in the United States, but like you pick up your box of cigarettes and it shows you graphic depictions of all of the diseases and harms that can come from smoking. The second you fire up Twitter, it should be like, hey, this is literally rotting your brain. You need to acknowledge you are taking your own health and well-being, mental well-being into your hands, and that this platform is designed by design is trying to hurt you. Do you wish to continue? And you'd have so many addicted adults still say yes, but that still needs to be upfront in the conversation. I don't know. Maybe I'm being a little too precious or a little too sensitive about it. I just feel like this is one. I hate this because, like, you win so many political points. Won't someone please think of the children? We're not going to improve the economy. We're not going to improve the job market. We're not going to improve savings and retirement and healthcare. And we're definitely not going to do anything about the environment that would make healthier living more sustainable and easier for young people. But let's ban them from social media. We're going to keep approving data center funding so that we can destroy, our climate goals and cook the planet and destroy the lives of future generations of people. But won't someone please think of the children? And at the same time, I'm sitting over here and going, but won't someone please think of the grown-ups? It's so complicated and I hate it so much. Well, let me get a drink of coffee and let's see. I don't know if any of y'all have thoughts on this. We'll see what y'all have to say. Oh yeah, command control device. Fear slash anger is the most valuable currency these days. It's probably ranking higher than Bitcoin right now. Simon says Hypno. They'll be banning booze for kids next. Jeez, this government overreach. How come we just can't be responsible parenting on that? Darcy Castleman. Honestly, I'd rather the over 65s get a social media ban. It's like from now on, all you're allowed are private discords with your families, so they can start detoxifying you from watching too much Fox News. From JGJ, how many parents configure a router away from default settings? Yeah, again, so you're right. And Darcy, I made that quip. You need to like the personal responsibility and what Simon was saying, the joke about like serving kids booze. Absolutely correct. Where is the educational opportunity for a grown up today to learn more about their router settings? And we want to say like, well, I mean, if they care, they should go and do and make this thing and they should look it up and there are probably instructions. And you're like, yes. And we've made it so flipping difficult. I'm really trying not to swear. If I do drop an F-bomb, I want to like save it for something really good. But this is what I've been talking about. Talk to your family and friends and point these things out and watch their eyes glaze over. Last year, remember, I bring this up a lot. My daughter got an Ubuntu laptop from school, and the parents freaked out because most of them were on MacBooks in our neighborhood, decently affluent, sure. But those who weren't were on Windows. And those who were expecting their kids to have something familiar thought their kids were going to get Chromebooks, which is basically just a Google web browser, right? They couldn't handle looking in different places for the same kinds of settings and menus that they would have had on Mac or Windows. It is functionally almost identical, just graphically, aesthetically in slightly different places. But we had some parents like, well, if I want my kid to be able to do their schoolwork, I mean, how do I even get them on my Wi-Fi? And like, that's definitely a you issue. Because like I go up to the little icon in the top corner, which on a Windows machine would have been in the bottom corner. I'll grant you that. You had to go from bottom right to top right. But then I hover and there's like a little gear icon, just like any other device. And this guy was like apoplectic, like red faced about like all the things that he had to do like three things. Had to like sign his kid into this laptop and he had to like get them on the family Wi-Fi. All because it looked a little different. And yes, we as nerds want to point out how unreasonable that is. And we're right. It is unreasonable in this day and age for a person, a functional adult who can dress themselves in the morning to not be a slight bit more intellectually curious about how their gadgets work. Unfortunately, that's still not going to solve our problems. We need to have like grown up tech re education centers where they go back to school to demonstrate some kind of tech literacy. In the same way that I think a lot of us would advocate for 80-year-old people having to retest to keep their driver's license, I kind of feel we need to do the same thing with 40-year-olds. Can you operate this Android phone? You don't need to be an expert, but can you do the basics? Can you get it on the Wi-Fi? Can you check your email? You can't? Okay, well, you need to spend a week in this tech re-education center. I know, you're going to go back to your iPhone, but you need to be functionally literate in what a computer can demonstrate, what a computer can do. Oh, you okay, well, your alternative is then we need to take away all of your tech until you can express basic competency and literacy. Oh, you want to go to the re-education center? Okay, great. It's like 5 days, and you'll get a whole crash course in like changing your router settings and preventing your kids from going to websites that you don't want them to. There's a little menu right here in the router settings. It's like, I know it's kind of an impossible task to block everything, but whenever my daughter's laptop signs in to our router, I've got a master list of things that she can't do on it. And I think that's reasonable for a 10-year-old who's actually a little young for her age, and I don't want her just accidentally trolling through stuff. So it's pretty great. And command control devices is the correct answer. It doesn't benefit any government if people get educated because then governments and corporations can't abuse said people. So there's no money in what I'm describing. You're absolutely correct. Moving right along. This one I just found. This one kind of tickled my funny bone, just because last week I made such a big deal out of the AI search lawsuits and how in the EU, sorry, to recap, in the EU, they're going after Google and they're saying, hey, your AI search is insufficient. You have these little links that say, oh, well, we stole this information from these people over on this website. AI search is theft. We're going to be as direct as we can. AI search steals content from other websites and is only there to supplant traffic to that website. Now, if you worked in like documentary filmmaking, commentary and critique, there is an established idea. There's not like a hard set precedent, but there's an established idea that your documentary can't be made to supplant the product or the movie that it's talking about. So if you make a documentary about The Godfather and you include every scene of The Godfather and you spoil the end of The Godfather, then your documentary really isn't a documentary. It's something made to reduce traffic or views to The Godfather for your own financial benefit. It's why most of the like long form videos on movies on YouTube are total crap. It's someone who goes through and then these characters say this and then they do this and then this happens and then this and then at the end, oh, spoilers, in the end this happens and then this. And I didn't like the movie very much. So out of a 45-minute long video, it's only really about 2 minutes of actual commentary or critique. But now that you've watched my 45-minute video, I have made more money and you will be less likely to see the movie that I've just described. I don't believe that's fair use. I don't. I miss me with arguments or people that do react videos. Not fair use. Absolutely not transformative. Very little commentary or critique. Nothing has been contributed to the original. It's just someone sitting in there in a little video window, like nodding while things happen. Not fair use. I actually feel like that kind of stuff should be targeted way more aggressively. So, in the same way, that's how I feel about AI search. Is the only reason it exists is to harm traffic to other websites for Google's benefit. And the EU said, "Hey, you have to give us the ability to opt out. Maybe I don't want my website summarized by Google, and you can't then sift through my information and publish it on your own. Then on top of that, you need to more clearly deliver attribution." And Google lawyers were so upset that this is excessive attribution. No, it's like barely the basics. And you should be telling people, we didn't come up with this information. But now Google is in an even worse situation because AI search will add information to what they steal. And if Google search gets something wrong, Google can be held liable because now the AI this isn't Google as a platform. Now Google is a writer, author, and publisher. So they can be held liable for misinformation that is shared and disseminated through Google search. So this is written up by Ashley Bellinger over at Ars Technica. Let me screen share this. Nobody needs AI to search the internet, court says in ruling against Google. The preliminary ruling came in a case flagged by the Decoder, where two publishers found that Google's AI overviews incorrectly linked them to scams and other sketchy business practices. After smearing publishers by making affirmative statements like, yes, it is known for dubious business practices and is often perceived as a scam, Google failed to correct the misleading output even after the publisher sent a cease and desist letter this year. Google tried the usual arguments to shield itself from liability for false statements in AI overviews, such as arguing that most users understand that AI outputs aren't always accurate and must be verified. But the court found that unlike traditional search engines that merely present lists of links to third-party statements, Google's tool made independent, new, and substantive statements based on its own misinterpretation of links on the internet. This is a very big deal. Companies like Google like to have it both ways. They exercise editorial power over content that's published on YouTube or how they rank search results. But they're not a publisher. They're just a platform where content can be found and where content can be distributed. So this is one of the major underpinnings why I feel there needs to be some minor reform of the Communications Decency Act. Section 230 of the CDA gives these platforms a very broad shield. You are not directly liable for content that's been published on your platform. I disagree that Google is free from that because they do go through an entire process of vetting and verifying and allowing some bits of content to be published while others get censored. I feel like this is a very important, nuanced legal battle that needs to be had with lawyers way smarter than me when it comes to the interpretation of the law, and free from the judges that are really stupid when they start handling FCC cases. But this is a critical misstep from Google, because now that AI search AI summaries are reinterpreting and word gobbling, now that it's just a random word generating machine that's looking for patterns that seem relevant to the patterns of words that were inserted as a prompt, it can make up information. Well, now Google is the direct literal author of that, thanks to that AI interaction, thanks to that AI involvement. So moving forward, especially throughout the EU, if you get a Google summary search result that's incorrect, Google needs to be held directly liable. And I'm hoping that there will be a process for someone to easily say, hey, I got this Google result. It's coming through here. This is obviously incorrect. And that some regulatory process can then happen in the same way that we can report companies to the FCC, but it's largely useless whenever conservatives are in power. The same thing needs to now happen throughout the EU. And there needs to be some consumer education, because Google is playing the same BS game that Fox News plays. Oh, well, Fox News is entertainment. No one reasonable would ever take all the things said on Fox News as literal truth. No one believes that this is real, they say in a court of law, while then they massively undercut political education in the United States. And Google's trying to say the same thing here. Oh, people know that you can't just trust AI search results. Do they? Do you know anyone who really understands that? Like really groks it at a deeper level than just, oh, I searched on Google and it got me this awesome recipe. But did you really like look it up though? Because maybe that recipe is gonna kill you. Or like, when they said, hey, to make your cheese look better on your pizza, add Elmer's glue. Well, it's non-toxic. It'll probably work great. Yeah, Darren, exactly that. Google is effectively a publisher with their AI software and should be held liable. I don't think that this is controversial, but again, Google has all the money and lawyers and stuff, so they're gonna they're gonna fight this in court more, I'm sure. We also just brought this up. One of the reasons why I'm so sad about the current state of AI glasses is I wanted a smartwatch up at eye level with basic, notifications, the ability to do some health tracking. Maybe there's some speakers so that like you can get audio prompts and alerts. Sometimes I think it's handy to have microphones, but even then I'm kind of I could leave them if I didn't I don't really need them. But I want a good optical system for information at eye level, turn by turn, little bits of points of interest data. It's just I loved Focals by North. I liked the idea of Google Glass minus the big camera module. I do not see the benefit or value of having a low quality, super ultra wide field of view camera up at eye. Those are never going to be videos I revisit. They're never going to be memories in the ways that I craft really high quality content from my phones. So we brought up that Meta, Facebook, had already started just stapling on face tracking. Like there was already software in the Meta glasses that could start scanning faces and digging up information on that person, and that it wasn't activated. It wasn't like a feature that was on, but it was something that could be just switched on, and then Facebook would get just all of this constant data from people wearing their glasses. So this report from Wired was at least a little encouraging. Meta deletes face recognition system from its smart glasses app after the Wired report. The code Wired identified is gone from the latest version of Meta AI, the companion app for the company's smart glasses. Meta won't say why or whether it's coming back. So Meta did this all on its own. with no disclosure, no conveyance, no alert to users or owners that this was going to be getting sent to their smartphone smart glasses app. I don't know about y'all, but I kind of feel like, yeah, it's probably going to come back at some point. Meta just keeps pushing, and this is like the constant. Someone brought it up on the private Discord and absolutely nailed the feel of this because it's exhausting. They are going to exhaust you into giving them what they want. Oh, they won't get it now, but in another future update, they're going to do it again. And people are going to be like, I thought we already dealt with this. And then they're going to kind of shrug and move on. And this is why tech bros, especially the Zuckerberg style tech bros, keep talking about tech like it's an inevitability because they never face any pushback. They never face any serious consequences to these types of business practices, so they just keep doing them. And all they need to do is for you to be so exhausted once that you let it slide. And then it's baked in forever and you'll never get it out of the system or the product that you were using. It's awful. And again, like I've kind of stopped. So I've got my Evan Realities, I've got my Vuzix, and I've especially like when I'm working with my daughter's softball team, I've kind of stopped wearing them because there's no way for me to satisfy the concerns of other parents. They've heard about smart glasses, and there's still the genetic sense memory of Google Glass holes from way back when, that like maybe I'm taking videos of their kids, and I can't satisfy. I can show the people all this stuff. I can put the glasses on their faces. There is no camera on this, and they still won't fully believe me because if I were a creep, of course I would say, "Oh, there's no camera on this." But then you look at my Vuzix, and they've got these large like square blocks up at eye level, and you're like, "Yeah, there could definitely be a camera in there," and you just wouldn't show me the cameras. So I feel like my dream of owning information heads up display at a glance smartwatch at eye level is going to die because of all of these AI schmucks, because of guys like Zuckerberg. This is why we can't have cool stuff. And they're going to keep pushing optical systems that are basically just meant to spy on you, soak up user data, sell off all of your behavioral information, train their AI models at your expense. And we're going to keep rolling with it because one time in the future, they're going to bring this stuff back and we're going to be too tired to fight at that time, or something else is going to be happening that's also egregious and takes up all of our attention, and it'll slide through, and then we'll never be able to get rid of it until there is an actual, tangible regulatory market correction for these types of business practices. It's gonna keep getting worse. And Jimmy Fire Dragon saying, did you see the Facebook and Facebook Messenger outage the other day? So I didn't, because I don't use Facebook or Facebook Messenger. Like something like that can happen, and I understand why people, like why it's big news. Lots of people still use Facebook, but I don't even really sign into WhatsApp consistently. Most of the people I talk to are on Telegram and Signal. And increasingly, as like I meet people like, hey, do you want to start up a chat? Like, oh yeah, you know what? Let me show you this. We can create this little room in this app called Signal. And I try to just make it, oh, it's so cool, and it's like this, and it's private, and you can do this, and oh, this is so much better. And I've gotten a few people just kind of nudged over, because then it's like, oh, this is just gonna be like our chat. It's annoying, and it's silly, and it's stupid. And again, I wanted to say like, oh, well, most people, if they're going to do some alternative chat away from text messaging, are probably on WhatsApp. But it's like, I just refuse. I just can't roll over without some kind of token effort to push back. Yes, I have a WhatsApp. I don't really use it much. And now increasingly it's just become like spam central for really shady PR reps. So like the people who make like junk on Amazon will find some kind of personal information on me, and it's always WhatsApp. They don't even like email anymore, which is great. I love like people who really know me, know my email. That's a reasonable place for us to have a good business conversation because things are structured well in emails. But I can almost guarantee every single time I do fire up WhatsApp, I'm going to have scores of new messages, and almost all of them are going to be scams. From Darren Moore and Juan, you're going to see in your lifetime, it'll be contact lenses like in spy films. I don't understand why people think that's going to be a thing. Someone clue me in, because like the optical engine, the power required, the battery capacity, the ability to transmit information over radios and wires, how will that work? Until we have a fundamental and radical evolution in our ability to miniaturize very complex systems like radios and modems, I don't think contact lenses are gonna be a thing. I know I'm a Star Trek nerd and I really want magical futuristic technology. But it's also it's kind of funny because like a lot of that, I was recently talking to Marie. So we went and saw Disclosure Day over the weekend. I wasn't really going to bring it up, and I don't want to spoil anything. If you like Steven Spielberg's storytelling style and structure, I think you're going to dig this movie. But there is a lot of, how do I want to phrase this? It's not lazy, but it's definitely of a singular focus. It is one of the failings of a lot of science fiction that I think is delightfully made fun of in shows like Doctor Who. When a movie about aliens is produced in the United States, the whole world is the United States. Aliens don't go anywhere else. They don't talk to anyone else. All of the storytelling is singularly focused on the American perspective of what an alien contact would look like. And in Doctor Who, similarly, but I think with tongue firmly planted in cheek, everything that happens on Earth always seems to happen with the Doctor in the UK. Right? So I've always felt like Doctor Who has been kind of a nudge or a satirical poke at the idea that like a movie like Independence Day can happen and our perspective is entirely American. Except for a token notion at the end that the whole world has been fighting too. Brave men and women across the globe. But it's America. It's our Independence Day that saves the day. Right? So we're watching Disclosure Day, and it immediately fired up. Like my entire perspective on science fiction was irrevocably warped by the three body problem in a really interesting, completely different perspective on what that genre of storytelling could look like from a very Chinese perspective. A lot of things that should be concerning when you read through that book and like, oh, you have very different sensibilities and values. There's a whole bubbling sub commentary about like gender issues and population control and what the future of this technological spread could look like. But I then very much appreciated the very practical idea of what the future could look like. Without getting into spoilers for the Three Body Problem books, the TV show I think is kind of garbage. The farther away I get from the Netflix Three Body Problem, the worse I think it is. But in one of the later books in the, I think it's the second book in the trilogy, someone from the past is able to make their way to a far future date. Like they spend hundreds of years in uh, some sort of like cryostasis, whatever the book's um, explanation of that is. But he comes out of this and he's like, oh, wow, look at all this magical technology and people. And oh, this is so amazing. And then he realizes, like, oh, actually, this is all the same stuff that we were working on back when, I was alive, in the past. When I was around for it in the past, all you've done is you've just kind of sanded off some of the clumsy edges of it, like wireless power delivery. We were already working with inductive power, and now you've just got these stations that sort of radiate wireless energy for these gadgets and stuff so that we don't have to have as many batteries in gadgets. So now my phone can be literally like a completely thin strip. Oh, Well, that's not really magic. And I look at something, sorry, this was the longest walk to get here, Darren, and I apologize. I told you this was going to be a weird one. Um, I look at like contact lenses for like optical systems, and I just can't see a path in the medium term where that could ever be a tangible piece of electronics. And I love it because it's one of those things like, oh, in the future we're gonna have transparent phones. That's stupid. That's really stupid. Like, it's impractical. It's bad for security. It's hard to look at. Like, it's just hard to use. If you can see through the screen, then you can see everything behind the screen. It's a dumb idea, but for some reason, science fiction television producers think it looks really cool, and it's just dumb. Contact lenses would be cool. I just can't extrapolate from our current technology. How do we get to a system that works like that? So yeah, I made that way more complicated than I needed to. But let me tell you about Disclosure Day. I don't know. It's like I keep having these little like midnight dreams of maybe I'll bring back the movie review show instead of talking about technology. We do have I wanted to bring this up. Let me pull this up here. So this is the official statement from Anthropic, a statement on the U.S. government directive to suspend access to Fable 5 and Mythos 5. The U.S. government, citing national security authorities, has issued an export control directive to suspend all access to Fable 5 and Mythos 5 by any foreign national, whether inside or outside the United States, including foreign national Anthropic employees. The net effect of this order is that we must abruptly disable Fable 5 and Mythos 5 for all of our customers to ensure compliance. Access to all other Anthropic models will not be affected. And I thought this one was just interesting in a sort of broader sense of what our government is trying to do with AI products and services. We keep posturing AI like this is a race, and that we have to give these tech companies everything that they want, run up incredible debt, not verify any kind of sustainable business model, build out data centers that are going to destroy the environment so that we don't let China win AI. Now, there is so much really interesting stuff that we could be exploring and we could be investigating and we could be investing in the huge spectrum of machine learning opportunities. But so much of this really does seem to be focused on how do we build a better language model? How do we make a more convincing image, if it's a photo or a video? And to me, that's the stuff that doesn't really have any practical output except to displace human labor and human creativity and human education. So, what's interesting about this and why I think we should keep an eye on it, I will try to find future updates to this story as it evolves. I would also recommend that you read their official press statement here because they're detailing, hey, this is what we think about our image generating and our image analyzing AI software, and this is what we've tried to do to comply with the government's directives and demands. But this is also coming at to me, this seems like it's a reaction to what happened in February. Do you remember what happened in February with Anthropic and the federal government? Let me remind you. So, this story from the BBC back in February, Trump orders government to stop using Anthropic in battle over AI use. US President Donald Trump has said he would direct every federal agency to immediately stop using technology from AI developer Anthropic. Anthropic is mired in a row with the White House after refusing demands that it agree to give the US military unfettered access to its AI tools. The refusal led US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to say he's deemed Anthropic a supply chain risk. The label would make Anthropic the first US company ever to publicly receive such treatment. The company said that it will challenge any supply chain risk designation in court. Now, see, they haven't taken Anthropic to court. They've just banned Anthropic from being used by anyone who's not American. So to me, here's my wider view on this. Anthropic's, oops, I accidentally turned. Oh, yeah, I forgot I turned on like keyboard shortcuts for my OBS. Anthropic didn't give the government everything that they had. The government said, but we want it. Anthropic said, well, that's not going to happen. This stuff's really expensive. We've got another story about how AI is getting increasingly more expensive. And so then they get slapped with this ban saying, oh, well, Anthropic stuff is too good. Can't use it. Sorry. And to me, this really does seem like the end run of how do we devalue this company that's making pretty good tools. I think a lot of people would agree when it comes to this image generating and image analyzing, some of the code tools that are becoming more and more effective in writing software. Anthropic is a name that comes up with a lot of positive positive accounts. And I think this is the government's way of penalizing Anthropic for not giving them what they wanted, and then devaluing Anthropic to the point where, maybe the government just has to come in and bail them out. And if we spend tax dollars bailing out Anthropic, well, we got to get something in return for that. Trump is really big on that quid pro quo. I scratch your back, you scratch mine. First, I broke your spine so that you couldn't run away. And now I'm gonna scratch your back because you have an itch that you can't reach. And you can't walk off anywhere else to go get that itch scratched. So once I scratch your back after breaking your spine, you're gonna scratch my back. This is the dumbest, like, lead pipe business negotiating I've ever seen. And it's my guess, because I don't have any insider information on this. I don't have any access to anything else that's being put out except for like these news articles. But like, think back to February. How hard is it to recall news that happened in February, right? So I saw this article about Anthropic getting banned, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. I already thought there was like fallout. Like, we weren't using Anthropic tools or services in the government or in the military. Oh, I think this is what they're trying to do. So this is, again, if you're a conservative, I guess you just love that you've got a presidential administration that is this punitive, this anti-business. Remember, I guess Republicans gave up caring about business and fair market and free market, because now our government seems to be, I cannot confirm that it is, but it seems to be targeting one specific AI company to harm them materially enough that then that company will have to capitulate with the demands of this government. So it's pretty great. It's pretty great. It sucks. It sucks really bad. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Some other comments just about movies and stuff. I almost got dragged back into talking about good movies. Command Control Devices said, I mean, seeing behind the screen has its use for awareness and to not bump into something or someone while doom scrolling. That isn't the solution, Command Control Device. I mean, that's why I want glasses. If I'm getting alerts, notifications turn by turn, and I'm keeping my head up, my eyes up, and all that information is just at eye level, that's why I love my glasses. But think about walking around with a phone you can look through and how much more attention you need to pay on the phone screen if you have a transparent phone. It doesn't free up your ability to see through. Your optical system doesn't work like that. We are predatory animals. You have to pay more attention to something that you're looking through. The reason why a heads-up display at eye level works is because it broadcasts, it projects out. So you're not looking in at something at arm's length that's slightly longer than arm's length. And it's usually just a monochrome green. So something that kind of stands out in your environment, and you can look through it really easy if you need to. But if you need to focus on it, you need to focus on that projection. a phone screen is going to be more people staring at their phones or using their hands to try and block more of the ground behind them because there is so much more optical competition for what would be on your phone screen. And just look at, how do you make an outdoor viewable display transparent? Transparent works when it's something like a kiosk. Like, I love those. Like, the first display I ever saw from LG was like a vending machine, and you would just touch the thing. Like, oh, you don't want, oh, I want, peanut M&Ms, and that's B7. No, just touch the peanut M&Ms. And then like a graphic pops up and says, "Do you want to buy peanut M&Ms?" And you push the big yes button, and you tap your phone, and you get peanut M&Ms. That's a brilliant use of a transparent display. The idea that like a phone screen is a good idea is not it, man. Sorry, I want to go with you on it, but no. No, no. The solution to not being distracted by your phone when you're walking around is to sever optical information from your phone and put that optical information into a place that it's easier for you to be more aware contextually of your surroundings, which would be smart glasses if they weren't AI scumbuckets now. From Darren Morris, I was really thinking glasses maybe more along the lines of closed captions in movie theaters so they wouldn't bother anyone else and I could still understand what's going on. That works really well. I've shown those, like the Vuzix. So I believe the Vuzix have to use your phone microphone, but the Evan Realities do have their own mics built in. You can do closed captioning. It's pretty good. And depending on your data connection, it's almost fast enough to keep up with dialogue in movies. I mean, I think it's really good. Again, for someone who studies a lot of hearing health situations, for people who have issues with hearing, so the like Evan Realities, the Vuzix, I had a it wasn't very good as a product, but it was just like a platform to train other AI models. And now I can't remember. I know they did a monocle. I can't remember the name of that company. It was a little prism and it could just do like text. And you're like, that actually worked pretty well too. It looked kind of dorky, but that's another excellent use. Almost real-time translation. I was watching District B13. It's a French film. And it was keeping up with the dialogue decently well. It just random, like rapid stretches of French would slow it down. But like, yeah, that's stuff we could do right now. It's just, I don't believe we'll ever get to contact lenses. Yeah, Simon says, Hypno, sure would be a shame something bad happened to your business. I'm just saying, some people like to play along. We came to you with a very reasonable request is just give us everything that you got. And you didn't want to do that. So now we're just going to make sure that no one does business with you until we can cut up your company for parts. I mean, it's a shame. It's a shame. You worked so hard to build all this beautiful stuff, and we're just going to take it anyway because that's apparently what conservatives want. It's great because it's politics. We're talking about politics on a tech podcast because that's what it is. Michael C2 jumping right in with Simon. It's like The Sopranos when Patsy, it's desperately trying to get the Starbucks guy to pay for their protection. Oh, what if someone broke the window? What if someone hurt the assistant? Oh, it's so good. Oh, Fat Produce. I'm here delivering mail and listening on my tank. I love that Andrew is digging the tank. My tank mini arrived this morning while I've been at work, and I'm chomping at the bit to test it out too. I love it. I love it. Here, let me get this out of the way here. All right, I'm way behind on this lineup. So again, I want us to keep an eye on what's going on with Anthropic, not because I'm in favor of supporting an AI company. I think Anthropic is also going to demonstrate the problems that we have with data center based AI. It is unsustainable. It is unrealistic. The amount of money you spend to then generate revenue is going to be a catastrophic failure for that market and for that industry. But I also don't like it when our conservative administration and conservatives, especially the GOP in general right now, are unfairly targeting one business because that business didn't give them what they wanted. And I feel like that has become a consistent trend with like how the FCC is being managed. Oh, this late night stand-up comedian said something mean and it hurt our president's feels. Our president is so sensitive and delicate. You need to take him off the air, or it would be such a shame if something happened to your future business dealings. And it's this outward, they're not even trying to mask it. It's completely unmasked market manipulation, business manipulation, and that should start falling afoul of things like the First Amendment. But again, if you really cared about that in an earnest sense, then you probably wouldn't be a conservative. They don't seem to have any problems like picking and choosing when they care about fair and free business market dealings and stuff like that. I'm being pissy today, but there's definitely a trend in one direction right now that's not great. Goat V8, is that the parkour movie? District B13, parkour. We're gonna fight crime with parkour. We're gonna save the day and stop a nuke. Parkour. It's so good. The stunt work in that film is incredible. I love it so much. And it definitely feels like a throwback to like whatever fads were in other movies. So sorry, I just have to, for anyone who hasn't seen District B13, it arrived at the height of this fascination we had with jumping and running around buildings, parkour. It is a future dystopian, bright, vivid, neon. It feels so much like 80s dystopian movies where it would be like Mad Max, but neon. If you haven't seen it, there's a movie called Solar Babies from the 80s, which is a super bright neon vision of a dystopian future where like people don't have water. It's very Mad Max, but the hook is like combat and sports are all done on inline roller skates. So like at the time, inline skates were becoming this hot new fad, and Solar Babies presents this as like, well, it's going to be the combat of the future is everyone's going to be on blades. No, I don't think that's a thing. So District B13 at that like spike of popularity and interest in this sport we call parkour and urban navigation. Um, I love it. I love it when we just take one thing from what's popular of its time and then we extrapolate that into, well, if it's this popular today, imagine how popular it will be in 20 years. Because that's not how that's not how that kind of stuff works. It's so good. I love it. I just because I'm being snarky about AI, I have to bring this one up. Um, this is coming by Yahoo News, but again, it was covered on a number of outlets. Stanford graduates walk out on Google CEO as commencement speech sidesteps AI. Um, how dirty is this headline? Stanford graduates walk out on who? Google CEO. Sundar Pichai doesn't rate as words to put in a headline for SEO. It's so wild. I just love it. I love students exercising their right to not listen to speech. So here's this video. It was shared on Twitter. Matt Brown shared this video from the SF Gate, San Francisco, and just Sundar Pichai is going to talk about AI, and all these students walk out because increasingly young people seem to get it that this is all garbage. It's not a sustainable business model. It's going to destroy the environment. It's going to lead directly to human misery and suffering and an unequal distribution of resources, and for no benefit, for no practical, tangible benefit, that this bubble is continuing to inflate because billionaires at these companies can just keep moving money between them and then act like that's good for the stock market. That's not the economy. That's not the job market. And that's not the future of all these people who just spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars per semester to get an education that will hopefully net them some kind of benefit in society. While people like Sundar Pichai go out there and say, oh, but AI. But don't you want to AI your AI? Or maybe we need more AI. And maybe you'll be the future bringing us more AI so that then we can displace you from the job market and make you irrelevant. And the AI can go and make art and music and photography and movies, and you can toil in the lithium mines so that we can have more materials for the AI. We're not getting the 4-day, 5-hour a day work week. No, we're gonna have you getting paid minimum wage to work jobs that would have in the past, like, fed a family of 5 and bought you a house and 2 cars. Um, you don't get that. Sorry, young people, everything sucks for you. But old people and billionaires are super stoked. It's gonna be great. So good job, Stanford. Really proud of your students out there. Um, well, John Gao, that's going to be an expanded part of the topic. Is the walkout more about AI or Israel Palestine? So there was a competing not off campus, but like off venue political rally, political speech. But Sundar Pichai again kind of represents both forks of that. A lot of people walking out because of AI, a lot of people walking out because of Google's current business relationships with governments around the world that are probably doing things that a lot of young people would find objectionable. So it's pretty great. Sorry, I've just got to read this quote here. The speech that skipped the obvious topic. So you're right, John. It wasn't just that he came out and started talking about AI. I missed this one little bit here. This is funny. Pichai, who earned a Stanford master's degree, acknowledged the pressure to address AI. He joked that the subject sat in the last 2 letters of his last name. Actually, it's been the same advice, and it's about what not to say. People thought it would be really difficult for me. It's the last 2 letters of my last name, after all. I'm not going to talk about AI or address the fact that I am actively trying to destroy your future. It's great. See, but that's what I mean is like, you can sure, if it's Israel Palestine and that's why you walked out. I feel a lot of these students also hearing commentary like that, like, well, if you're upset about AI, I'm just not even going to bring it up. And that must have been so hard for me because the last 2 letters of my last name are AI is the opposite end of that spectrum. You've gone full circle, but you're still representative of the business practice and the platform and the market manipulation that is going to destroy their future. But you're just not going to bring it up. Oh, you see, they didn't walk out on me because of AI. I didn't even bring it up, except to bring it up that I wasn't going to bring it up. And that's even worse in a way. Like, we're stabbing you in the back with this, but we're just not going to talk about it. We're going to talk about how we're not going to talk about it. Okay, sure. I feel like that's still an AI thing. All right. I don't know how much time I want to spend on this because this is another one that I just find demoralizing. So we're just going to bring it up and then we're going to move on. From Ars Technica, written up by Eric Berger. SpaceX is now a public company valued for its AI potential. So what comes next? Company began trading on NASDAQ at 135 a share, valuing SpaceX at nearly 1.8 trillion. By the end of the trading day, the company shares were selling at 160.95, a respectable increase of more than 19%. So a bunch of SpaceX employees, they definitely made bank on their stock options. Elon Musk is now the world's first trillionaire. SpaceX lost $5 billion last year and $5 billion last fiscal quarter. They generate roughly $20 billion in revenue a year. And now we're going to pretend that because of their AI stake, that they're worth over 1.8. No, so now at that, like a 20% increase, that's roughly $2 trillion. System works, y'all. You see, the thing that's frustrating is like I got comments and I actually did block someone on YouTube who was just bringing up, oh, you're just going to be upset because you know it's going to be successful. And that's, Like, the only thing we should ever possibly care about is, can you get in, buy something, have it be worth more, and make a ton of money? And that's really not my issue. I would like some of this to be based on kind of the merit of the company's financials, because this is not a company that should be worth $2 trillion. But because of the way that we can manipulate the stock market, manipulate the messaging, and tie certain investing behaviors to cults of personality, that's why SpaceX is worth $2 trillion according to this rigged system. And to me, this is likely a bag holding scheme. Someone's going to get left holding the bag on this. But looking at how Elon Musk is now viciously trying to consolidate power, merge companies, blur the lines between companies. Money from SpaceX goes into Twitter for advertising. XAI was kind of attached to Twitter because it was X, but then SpaceX bought it. So now they're an AI company, and they're going to sell future compute capabilities to Google. They don't have the compute capabilities, but Google's going to pay them almost $1 billion a month as they build out access to GPUs and servers and data centers. And of course, we've seen when Elon Musk promises to build out data centers, he always does it in a ruthlessly toxic way that's awful for the local environment. He'll burn gas generators to power data centers. It's awesome. So I think I'm allowed to be a little upset, because yet again, the system is going to enrich the pockets of people who play this game for the short term. They'll find a way to get their money out, move on to the next fad, flip their cash again. But all of us sort of lower level peon humans are going to be stuck footing bills, bailing companies out, and dealing with the environmental repercussions of absolutely horrific business practices. And largely because, like, the regulatory industry here in the United States is kind of just up for grabs. If you can impress upon this current presidential administration that it'll be good for him and that he can get some insider trading info on how to make more money, then he will craft business and economic policy in your direction. And then everybody profits. So it must be good. Must be good for everybody. Oh, and Michael C2, yeah. I guess Fox is buying Roku. Barry Weiss is taking over CNN. They're just going to be like one company at this point, earning all the media. So that's not great either, because where do we get our dissenting speech? I thought we cared about free speech, but we don't. Yeah, it's awesome. So again, I was saying, don't follow me for investment advice, because I passionately think that you should, what you invest in also kind of speaks to who you are and your character. And if you're happy making money on an almost outright scam, which is bad for everybody, I don't know what to say. Like, I think that does speak to your character. It speaks to who you are as an individual. I'm fine with all these people getting hurt and all these people getting wrecked. As long as I got mine, then that's okay. And that to me is the SpaceX IPO in a nutshell. I'm only going to bring this one up too. This is coming from TechSpot, because it's kind of confirming we're starting to see this commentary creep up more, because the business model of cloud AI never looked sustainable. I don't know why this is such a controversial thing when I say this, because people keep acting like, oh, but it'll scale, or they'll deploy this, or it'll get more affordable. And like, that has never happened in the modern online media space. Every single time we see something disrupt, it starts out super, super cheap. People jump onto it. They hit a tipping point of users. There's sort of an inevitable coasting where people are just kind of fine to let that subscription ride, like the Netflix model is one of the things I'm pointing out. But then you see this hard ratchet of pricing increases because the original offering was never sustainable. When Google TV, when YouTube TV was cool, it was like 40 bucks a month. You got all these TV channels, you could totally cut the cable. I gave up on Spectrum cable boxes. I could just Wi-Fi stream our TV, and I got a bunch of family and friends on it too. And now it is severely more expensive, and I don't really want to use it more, so I canceled YouTube TV. Now AI is going to be a logarithmic increase in that, because the way that you utilize data centers to get information out of these models is significantly higher compute costs than any data center for streaming media. You can sit here and try and tag me, oh, if you hate data centers, you must hate Netflix. Yet Netflix has added millions of new subscribers, and their energy usage has actually dropped. They find more efficient ways to stream data to their individual subscribers. They pick up more subscribers, and yes, their business model scales. I'm mad at Netflix because they keep showing these reduced costs, getting money from these failed mergers and acquisitions, and then they still keep raising prices on their subscribers without providing any additional value. My issue with Netflix, though, has nothing to do with the fact that they're actually running really efficient data centers and nodes to prevent wasteful electronic energy consumption. So this is coming by way of TechSpot. A $200 Chat GPT subscription could cost OpenAI $14,000 if you actually used it to its full potential. The math behind AI subscriptions is starting to look uncomfortable. Flat monthly pricing helped fuel the rapid adoption of tools like ChatGPT and Claude, but new analysis suggests those fees may not come close to covering the actual cost of heavy use. As users push these systems harder and more demanding AI workflows take hold, the gap between revenue and compute costs is becoming difficult to ignore. And we knew this. So like when ChatGPT started offering up like video streaming, video creation, and they tried to make their little like TikTok full of AI slop platform, you wouldn't get the video you wanted with a single prompt. No matter how good of a prompt engineer you are, a lot of people were saying, maybe it takes me 2 or 3 tries, but then I get this video. Every single video that was created cost dollars. So then if you had any kind of user adoption, you would have had millions, billions of dollars of waste to get a populated video streaming social network, TikTok style network, with enough content that people would want to infinitely scroll. That was never going to be sustainable. And ChatGPT, OpenAI, they killed that whole video creation side of their business. They even severed that relationship with Disney, where Disney was committing $1 billion and letting them license Disney characters and IP, but that fell through. They never gave $1 billion. They were just committing to giving $1 billion, but that was enough for them to act like OpenAI had really cut $1 billion deal with Disney. You see how they just lie? We're going to buy 40% of the RAM that's being produced. Okay, you have the money to buy that? No, but we're committing to doing it. Juan Bagnell, I am committing to buying 80% of the motherboards for consumer computing systems. I don't have the money for it, but you should all now be looking at motherboard prices skyrocketing because I've committed. I have said I'm going to do it. So now speculators must believe me. And now the prices of motherboards are going to take a sharp incline because I need them. I need them for strategic turnip growing conditions. Those motherboards, absolutely vital. And I will get the money at some point to do that. But until that happens, just keep operating as if I've done it. Go ahead and raise all the prices. Speculators, you go ahead and jump all the prices. And I'll eventually get there. And if I don't, well, that's fine because then you sold all your motherboards at a higher price anyway. So you could see that the market could sustain higher price motherboards. So you're actually happy that I didn't buy up all those motherboards because I made you more money at the expense of consumers and, yeah, everyone else. So, the cheapest AI has ever been was last year. They were trying to do the same business model where they made it look cool and they ate all the operating costs. And you look at how OpenAI was in the red, tens of billions of dollars every fiscal quarter, had to do multiple rounds of fundraising just to pay off the basics, lost their sweetheart deal with Microsoft for cloud computing and servers because Microsoft was holding them back. And even Microsoft is kind of realizing, like, no, this isn't this isn't proving to be the subscription generating or revenue generating thing we thought it would be. And there's no point in us giving OpenAI all this stuff. And then OpenAI turning around and their first big massive deal is to give Apple like free access to OpenAI tools. And so then when people subscribe, like say you have your iPhone and you subscribe to an OpenAI service, Apple gets a cut of that through the App Store, and Microsoft would have just been left holding the bag on increased server utilization because of their deal with OpenAI. And we're all still sitting here looking at the stock market, looking at investors, looking at, pontificators. Oh, but this is going to be the thing. And no, it's not. I'm increasingly confident it's going to crater really, really bad. One example of that would be, again, Microsoft. This is written up by Kyle Orland over at Ars Technica. Excuse me. This cannot continue. Xbox leaders lay out, quote, hard truths behind sagging brand. Just 100 days ago, when new Microsoft gaming CEO Asha Sharma replaced long-serving executive Phil Spencer, she said she'd work to understand what makes Xbox work and protect it. Now Sharma and Xbox Studios chief Matt Booty have laid out the many things that are not working for the Xbox brand in a brutal self-assessment that they say necessitates a wholesale Xbox reset. A part of this, hardware is hard. Microsoft is facing the same surge in storage and RAM pricing as the rest of the industry, but the Microsoft executives also say they believe we have been impacted more greatly than many of our peers due to the choices we made over the last half decade. A vague but worrying statement about Microsoft's specific console supply chain issues. So, a problem of Microsoft's making is kind of starting to chew into business opportunities for Microsoft. Now, it's unfortunately, I really feel like this is probably going when a company comes out and says, like, hey, making money, we've got to make some tough choices, we got to tighten our belts. Unfortunately, I feel like that almost inevitably leads to like layoffs. You can read the rest of this over at Ars Technica, and they're pointing out stuff from this internal memo, and I think it's pretty clear Microsoft as an entire global entity isn't looking at significant redirection of their current business strategies. I think Satya Nadella really proved he could make a ton of money by going cloud, going subscriptions, really working those kinds of infrastructure angles. On top of Xbox, though, and again, in part because of the current presidential administration and the political pressures that we face, I feel like Microsoft is probably in the most delicate position they've been in a really long time, where it is becoming fashionable to find solutions away from Microsoft products and services. Governments are looking at older computer systems that are still perfectly capable and saying, do we need to replace all this hardware for these kiosks and terminals and government systems? Maybe we do switch over to Linux, and that adoption rate is starting to climb. Similarly, because of the way that cloud infrastructure is being worked, we're seeing governments start walking away from Microsoft Office solutions as the standard. And there is now open source EU targeted document support being backed by the local governments. So then we get to gaming, and I feel like Microsoft is starting to course correct, and they're starting to take things like the Steam Deck more seriously. But we've also shown, hey, you got a little AMD box, you can make a really good Steam Deck for your living room gaming. Is it going to be the most powerful system you can own and operate? Nope. Is it a totally reasonable 1080p gaming machine? Yeah. And actually, it's kind of a fun project to put something like that together. We're starting to see Linux adoption creep up for gaming. We're starting to see emulation support and Proton and Fex and all these things that make owning a Windows PC, like where you would have these like hard defined market advantages. If it was getting your work done, you needed Windows, Microsoft Office, that was mandatory. If it was gaming, you needed Windows. You weren't going to game on a Mac, and oh, who could game on Linux? And all of those things are starting to fade. All of those hard and the sort of casual, ignorant assessment, the techies who just know, oh, but like no one's gonna do that. And then you pick up a Steam Deck and you're like, oh, this is awesome. This is actually one of the best gaming experiences you could own. And it's just a Trojan horse for Linux gaming, right? So all of this like truthiness, I know that this is never going to happen. I know that Linux is never going to take over. I feel like Microsoft executives are starting to acknowledge the multiple threats that are all facing different aspects of the business and the company. And I feel like out of a massive corporate conglomerate, the organization that's doing the best job of at least acknowledging their position is the Xbox team. I was not confident that that Asha Sharma was going to deliver any kind of change, any change of substance. That was going to be like, oh, like the stupid things that we do see, like, oh, we're going to work on our logo. I thought it was going to be stuff like that. But immediate course corrections on some of the price hikes, immediate contributions to discussions about future consoles, a shift in business strategy where they're trying to talk about why people even like Xboxes in the first place. None of this is massive radical change, but they're the sort of course corrections for a gigantic ship that you would want to see when we're talking about a corporate entity this large. Sony is a super corporate entity. Nintendo is a super corporate entity. Those companies do a much better job of focusing on their core audiences and gamers. I feel like Microsoft has always kind of put a little boot heel pressure on Xbox to be a part of Microsoft. And that hasn't always served both Microsoft or the Xbox team as well as it could. Asha here seems to be making some of the right noises and sounds, but unfortunately, because of this global situation that we find ourselves in, I wouldn't be surprised if we're very soon going to hear about layoffs and cost-cutting measures and, oh, what do we do about the next generation console? And the prices are gonna have to climb. It's just getting too much. There's just too much going on. It would be really encouraging. I don't see this happening, but like if Microsoft were the first company to pull back and say, this doesn't make sense. We're not making any money. We've got to be more conservative with our CapEx. We've got to rein this stuff in and actually demonstrate the human potential and value. They have this glowing opportunity to be the market leader in a new way that wouldn't just be, oh, well, as long as the stock price goes up, which could set them up as like a generational force. I think they're at the precipice of becoming the next IBM, the company that was Microsoft. Now, there's still Microsoft. There's still a player. IBM is still a big organization that still contributes to the global technologies market, but they're not IBM. Now they're, IBM Business Solutions and stuff, I guess. I don't know. They don't do anything for me daily. I think Microsoft is in danger of becoming, Microsoft. You remember they used to own everything, but, you could get a Windows machine or a Linux machine or a Mac or an Android computer or a Google Book or any of these other things. They're all fine. So I don't know. I hope that these tough decisions, these hard truths, don't immediately arrive as just more abject human misery and suffering. It would be nice if Microsoft took this moment and said, "Hey, we're going to invest in our people and look at what else we can do to drive the future of these technology markets." Unfortunately, one of the reasons why I'm not entirely positive that that will be the outcome of these hard truths that the company is investigating is the fact that we got these interviews like the Xbox strategy chief saying in-game advertising could be the next big move in game revenue. So this coming by way of Rahim Amir Noorali, but it was on the Game Business podcast. Xbox strategy chief Matthew Ball says in-game advertising could become a key tool to offset rising development costs and ease pressure on hardware, software, and microtransaction prices. And like Hollywood does a lot of that. You see someone hold up like a Coca-Cola can and they drink a Coca-Cola in the middle of the movie. Well, that was probably some kind of marketing or advertising fund, right? The movie received money from Coca-Cola to have their product prominently featured with a Hollywood A-lister, definitely not drinking Coca-Cola, and everyone's happy it gets money. So the next time you fire up your zombie survival game and just, we've got to make it to base camp, but first I'm going to equip myself with my REI gear that I found stashed in this bunker from REI. So totally won't break your immersion. It's totally not going to mess you up at all. I mean, like the quote on this. So this is one of the quotes. It's completely out of context. I don't know where the conversation went. I'm just trying to decipher what these words mean. In excess of 100% of net ads in the United States for years and years have been on the ad-supported tier that has not excluded anyone from ad-free experiences. Those products are still there. They're still popular. It's like the second you start talking about the business of marketing and advertising in an immersive construct like gaming, you have to then start using all of this obtuse sidestepping language. Oh, but it's an ad-free, ad-supported, but it's 100% net and the revenue in this, and so then you're not excluded from ad-free. And you're like, I don't think anyone believes that tomorrow the Xbox team is going to turn on commercials that block your game like television used to have. You'd watch a television program, there'd be a dramatic moment at around 10 minutes into the program. The characters would like stare at each other and then hold, and it would fade to black, and then a woman would come up on the screen and tell you to buy soap at Walmart. I don't think anyone believes that that's what is going to happen in games. You're going to be in the middle of this really tense, action combat sequence, and the thing's just going to fade out. And then a woman's going to pop up and say, well, when I get bloodstains in my warrior armor, I go to Walmart and I buy Tide. I don't think that's it. But I do think it is immersion breaking if you've got like billboards for real world companies that are then like selling you things that are really around you. Or like you're walking through Times Square and you get like actual advertisements for movies that are in theaters now. I feel like the insertion of this kind of marketing, there aren't many ways to do it right, and there are numerous ways to do it wrong. The article does bring up, and again from this part of the conversation, this is somewhat similar to a move pulled by Techland to advertise and market Dying Light the Beast adding billboards for the mainline sequel to the zombie parkour survival game in its prior game, Dying Light 2: Stay Human. However, even this type of ad placement has received mixed reactions, with some loving the immersion while others expressing disdain. See, that to me would immediately take me out of the immersive experience of being in that game. So here I am in Dying Light 2. I'm running around and I'm jumping and wall climbing, and there's a day to night feature, and I'm really concerned about the decisions that I make. And I run through a field, and there's a billboard for Dying Light the Beast. See how I'm not in the game anymore? You see how that would immediately separate you from the fantasy of the world that you're in? So even something like that, which could be cheeky, Dying Light is not a tongue-in-cheek, self-aware property. Maybe a Dead Island, something like that could work, right? Something that is a little more satirical of like George Romero films. And George Romero films were very self-aware. Like, I am commenting on consumerism. Zombies attack a mall. Like, he knew what movie he was making there. But like, if you're trying to make The Last of Us and your big hook is, oh, you know what we could do is we could put a billboard in The Last of Us for The Last of Us Part 2. No, that property cannot survive that kind of cynical in-game marketing. So I don't know. We've got this like one story where Microsoft, oh, the hard truths, and we've got to do this, and we're gonna advocate for gamers and get back to a hard reset of what makes the Xbox a good gaming platform. And then you've got other people that are strategists for the brand saying, you know what we could do? I mean, if you're upset that your Xbox costs too much, we could just sell more ads in the games, and then your Xbox wouldn't cost as much. Oh, it would still be more expensive, but it wouldn't be more expensive. It would just be more expensive. You see, ads would keep it. Do you want your Xbox to be even more expensive or just more expensive? And that's why all of this rings a little hollow, because no one in here is going to say, we can keep the next console generation closer to the prices of the last console generation. That's not going to be a thing. Everyone knows the next console generation is going to be a lot more expensive than the previous console generation, and then they're going to use stuff like this to say, "Oh, but did you want it to be even more expensive or just more expensive?" Hmm? I wish there was something we could do, but there's just nothing we could do. We're one of the main companies driving, AI data center policy, but there's just no way that we could fix any of this for anyone. It's great. From Ted. I would be surprised if product placement in video games were not already a thing. They totally are a thing. There's licensing deals all over video games. If you're in a racing game or in a sports game, it makes perfect sense because of the way that we produce sports content. I mean, look at these like hydration breaks for the World Cup. That's just to insert commercials. I mean, sure, I'm sure it's great for the players to get a little mid break, 45 minutes, go get some water, come back out to the field. But that's not why we're doing it. It's definitely because they want to serve more ads. But then just look at the stadiums themselves are plastered with marketing and advertising, or look at like race car tracks. That is definitely a thing. But imagine beginning and end trailers in your game, and that's where this stuff gets brutal. I even get a little pissy. So I went back and replayed a classic twin stick shooter roguelite called Neurovoider. I brought this up before, but now it just got a little bug fixing update. I think they've just redone their engine so that it works better with Vulkan. It just, all that aside. But now when I fire up Neurovoider, there's a major corner of the screen in the beginning like play says, "Oh, make sure you check out our game Scourgebringer." Scourgebringer is not a new game. I've played it on Android. It's fine. It's a nice platformer. It's not really my speed. I liked their twin stick shooter, but it's like now when I fire up my old twin stick shooter, I get a pop-up commercial for their not new anymore platformer, Scourgebringer, and just like, you know what, this kind of sucks. It does actually make me less likely to fire up Neurovoider. It's weird, but it's like you had to put this front and center on the game that I wanted to play. If I wanted to, I own your game, your other game that you're advertising, and I can't escape this little pop-up telling me I should go and buy it. I've already bought it. I hate that so much. You need to see I already own the thing that you're marketing to me. Makes me not want to ever get anything from you in the future. Oh, Ron GKP. Yeah, I'll backtrack. Can you tell me where I dropped out? Ron says, can you repeat all that? An ad just popped up on YouTube. I'll be straight up with you all. I hate YouTube. I don't like it as a platform. It is so obnoxious to work through. All the recent changes to algorithmic content distribution, the people that tell me they never see my videos, like all of that is a mess. I would prefer people watch this podcast anywhere else. I share the link to Twitch. I co-stream to LinkedIn and Facebook. Please don't go to Facebook, but if you want to watch it on another toxic social media platform, you can see this on LinkedIn as well. And when it comes to YouTube, I tell YouTube, put as many ads in as you want, because I just can't care anymore. If you don't want the ad interruptions on YouTube, then you could join us on Twitch. I feel like you're still going to see ads, but the ads don't seem to be as pervasive, and I would prefer not having all my eggs in YouTube's basket. It's awful, and I hate it. Oh man, we're running behind, and I still haven't even made it to the Insta360. This one's kind of interesting. We're just kind of shifting gears here, going from Xbox strategy to the future of the mobile market. And I love the commentary on this. Like, it's just not going to be good enough, guys. This is coming by way of notebook check from Ricky Rocks. The X-Ring 03. More details of Xiaomi's next-gen flagship chip revealed. Xiaomi launched its first truly premium in-house SoC, the X-Ring 01, last year, with the chipset going on to power devices like the Xiaomi Pad 7 Ultra and Xiaomi 15S Pro. Xiaomi has been working on a direct successor to this to launch this year, and more information on it has now been surfaced. So, if I remember correctly, and someone's going to have to tweak my memory on this a little bit, Xiaomi is making their own chip. We knew this would not be immediately or directly competitive against the best chips on offer from MediaTek and Qualcomm this year. So X-Ring 01 is a chip that went into a couple of phones and tablets, and we acknowledge that it was probably going to be about a 2, maybe a 3 generation delay or lag. So this chip that's in the 15S Pro and the Xiaomi Pad 7 Ultra was going to be roughly as powerful as a chip from Qualcomm from like 2024, maybe 2023. But this was a first major public distribution for a chip, and Xiaomi was confident that it was going to perform at least decently well. So let's really be savage and say it was about a 3 generation difference. X-Ring 01 for 2025 was going to be roughly as powerful as chips from the end of 2022, beginning of 2023. About a 3-year, almost a 3 generation gap. According to this information coming out now, X-Ring 03 is going to be roughly as powerful as the current Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5. So the 8 Elite Gen 5, like I've got my Vivo. So this is my Vivo X300 Ultra. This has a Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5. This is the current top of the line, best of the best. Qualcomm is going to announce an 8 Elite Gen 6 Pro. I think we're going to add even more stupid adjectives to their chip names. That should be coming out the end of this year. But X-Ring 03 is going to launch in probably another S series Xiaomi And we think it might be as powerful as the chip that's in this phone today. The most expensive phone that Vivo sells, Xiaomi could be catching up to this level of performance. That means in 1 year, they've closed a 2 generation gap in 1 year. Now, MediaTek and Qualcomm are going to be moving on to 2 nanometer construction. The X Ring is still going to be on 3 nanometers. We know that Qualcomm and MediaTek are going to pass X Ring, and that's what these headlines and these commentaries are like. Oh well, X Ring's going to come out, but like, is it really going to be good enough, guys? Isn't the next Qualcomm going to be even better? To be less than a year behind after 1 generation jump, going from almost 3 years behind to less than 1 year behind in 1 generation of chip is kind of astounding. And I don't know about y'all, but who in your circles of family and friends is picking up a $1,500 phone and is really maximizing the use of that Qualcomm or MediaTek SoC? So let's say the X Ring is a little less than a year behind. That would be like me saying, oh, a MediaTek Dimensity 9400, who could even use that? Oh, an 8 Elite Gen 4, last year's premium tier phone chip? Not good enough for anyone I know, good sir. If we could land that, that would be insane. Think about Google struggling to get even 2 generations behind Qualcomm. All of the money that Google could put towards making their own chips for their phones. And Tensor 5 is still about, I mean, solidly at least a whole generation behind in CPU, but like 5 or 6 years behind on GPU performance. Like Tensor G5 is kind of a crap chip. The whole thing altogether, not just like the CPU performance is actually okay. It's not great, but it's not terrible. But the radio management, the GPU, all of the performance that makes the chip one comprehensive compute unit, not great. And in 1 year, Xiaomi will have not only caught Tensor 5, but significantly surpassed Tensor 5 and is going to be less than a year behind Qualcomm and MediaTek if this turns out to be in any way accurate. That is really exciting. If we saw chip construction from other companies coming in like that, where they're making their own chip for their own products, their own phones, their own tablets, eventually that could find its way into manufacturing for Xiaomi laptops. That could be really exciting. A Xiaomi chip that makes a Xiaomi laptop directly competitive against Snapdragon and NVIDIA's RTX Spark. That could be really exciting. So I don't know. I just think it's funny that the tone of all of this is like, oh, but Qualcomm and MediaTek are going to be right around the corner with 2 nanometers. It's going to be way better, guys. Okay. I feel like the headline is massive leap in performance and improvement in a single year. But let's make sure we talk about how Qualcomm's a winner here still. So it's pretty great. Oh, Darren. Yeah. I mean, I think that's probably pretty clear. In 1 generation, I wonder how much reverse engineering or outright theft is going on there. So I don't think it needs to be that. I mean, so you're saying I'm all for it. That's awesome. Don't get me wrong. So the competition is what's really important here. But let's say X Ring is utilizing ARM licensing. MediaTek uses ARM reference cores. The 9500 is using the C1 ARM cores. There's nothing stopping an X Ring from also leveraging and licensing the same tech from ARM to improve their chips. I'm actually pretty confident that we'll see a CPU uptick on Tensor if Google uses the newer ARM reference designs to design Tensor G6. We're also pretty confident that they're going to keep using Power VR for the GPU, so we know GPU performance is going to be utter garbage. And I'll be very disappointed if they continue to use Samsung for the radio management, because Samsung's modems aren't great. But the CPU could get an uptick just from using ARM reference designs. I'll be curious, will Google join Qualcomm and MediaTek to go to 2 nanometers, or will they still try to save money on their chip manufacturing, sticking with the older process, the Samsung radio, the garbage Power VR GPU? I really think Xring 03 is going to slap the crap out of Tensor G6. We'll have to see. And Michael C2 also just reminding us, and Google now has that ridiculous battery nerfing policy after 200 cycles, cuts our charging speeds in half, reduces your CPU performance. And because the batteries are smaller and the charging is slower, you can be pretty confident that you'll hit those 200 charge cycles faster than if you had like a OnePlus. To hit 200 charge cycles on a OnePlus would probably take a lot longer because the battery's bigger and it charges faster. Oh yeah, Michael C2. The rumor on the modem was last year they were going to use MediaTek, but then last minute they switched back. So I had heard that they had investigated the MediaTek modem too. I'm shocked that they didn't use it. Increasingly, that seems like better hardware. When I look at the signal, the reception, the power draw, what little I can dig into on a phone and compare and contrast, every phone I've used internationally here in the United States with a MediaTek modem has dramatically outperformed the Samsung modem in my pixels. Like standing by a window and looking at signal reception and looking at all the towers that I can see, the Google phones always perform significantly worse, which means they're using more power and you don't get as good reception. So it would be nice if Google would maybe look at some ways to make the product better instead of just what's the cheapest way we can make this chip. I had maybe I'll still link it. I did bring up the iFixit teardown of the Trump phone, and I just don't feel like talking about it because I want to get to this story here that we need to follow up on. Did I just lock up? Oh, come on, don't do that. My browser just locked, so now I'm worried like I'm about to cancel my stream here. That's really not good. Wow, yeah, Firefox just like totally froze. All right, let me know in the chat if you can't see me or hear me anymore. I'm going to try this and we'll see if it works. This is a court case we're going to follow up on as we get more information, but it's now a pair. So DJI sued Insta360 over similarities between their gimbal action cameras. So the Insta360 Luna just came out. It's a cute little robot-looking dual camera, a wide angle and a telephoto. And I believe Ted got one, so that's we'll have to like see a review from Ted. But DJI with their Osmo Pocket design, they're suing they're suing Insta360. So the follow up to this story is now Insta360 is filing a countersuit against DJI for again kind of the same situation. At Insta360, we prefer to let our products do the talking, but we are not afraid of a legal battle when challenged. We are fully committed to protecting our innovations and will take decisive action to defend our IP from infringement. Luna Ultra is the result of years of independent R&D, not a response to any competitor's product. Development began in 2020 with earlier Insta360 products, including the One R Link series webcams. I'm going to skip. DJI filing lawsuits on the same day we launched Luna Ultra speaks volumes, exposing their fear of competition from a highly competitive product. So DJI absolutely has to be feeling the pressure of, again, what our regulatory agencies and our presidential administration has placed on entities that need to be banned from selling in the United States. I think companies like Insta360 smell blood in the water. GoPro is a fragment shadow of its former self. DJI had absolutely run roughshod with the mobile content creator drone and action camera market. And Insta360 was one of those companies that was kind of um, on the side, but was garnering a lot of attention for using these 360 cameras in really novel ways to make more like video stabilized kind of footage. It, instead of trying to convince people that you needed to have a fully spherical view, you would have a fully spherical view, but then you would tell your software, I want to focus on this part of the sphere, but I recorded everything. It was a really interesting idea. Now, Insta360 isn't really trying to operate the same way. They're trying to come up with more traditional action camera style solutions, but I don't feel like DJI really wins in this argument by saying, well, we've put gimbals on drones and then we put a gimbal on a stick. Because I've got a bunch of gimbals. Gimbals aren't new technology. We put cameras on gimbals and stabilize the cameras. We do that for phones. I've got my favorite. I don't really like these action camera standalone devices because I like getting out like my Hohem and putting my phone on a gimbal. And then when I shoot video, I've got the video on a computer that I can immediately edit from with no transferring of files. That's why I prefer working phone first. And then I can do some really radical things too. Like if I want to shoot with motion cam and shoot, gigabytes of footage every 10 seconds, I can capture insanely high quality footage. But I get the sort of immediacy and the ease of use of something like the Osmo Pocket. I stopped with DJI because I really didn't like, I think it was Osmo 3. And that gimbal was really finicky. It didn't like other chargers. So you had to have exactly the right wattage or amperage, or it wouldn't charge at all. It would take like a whole day to charge that gimbal. And a lot of the app stuff was really limited if you were on Android. If you were on iPhone, there was a lot of cool stuff you could do in the app controlling hardware through the gimbal. And I feel like DJI kind of dropped the boat on that model of gimbal with Android support. Or at least it was like really basic. I don't know. I stopped using it. I really love my Hohem now, which is funny because a lot of the stuff that looks cool on the Insta360, like you can pull off this little screen assembly, that looks really, really cool, right? You pop this little thing off, it's a remote. You can control your Insta360 wirelessly. But that's why I like the Hohem, because my Hohem gimbal, I attach a phone to it, then I pull off this little remote control, and a camera on the gimbal helps me line up my shots just like this Insta360 solution can. Short story, incredibly long. Now what we've got to pay attention to are these kind of dueling lawsuits. DJI is claiming that Insta360 is trying to rip off their functionality, their intellectual property. It seems like Insta360 is saying, hey, this is a frivolous lawsuit and you're trying to stifle competition. And now we're going to see both of these going to court to see who's going to win. I think it's kind of tricky. I understand and I appreciate sort of having this standalone device. You pull this out of a bag, you've got these cameras, they're stabilized, you push a red record button, you've captured this footage. But these things are starting to come in a lot more expensive, where I can pick up like a camera grade gimbal, like for a mirrorless camera for like $350. The Luna, I think, is what, almost an $800 action camera gimbal solution. It's got cool little accessories. It's got fun little wireless features. But if I look up Hohem, what does my M7 go for now? iSteady M7. Go to the website. I should have looked this up before. Yeah, so the Hohem iSteady M7 is $270. So let me pull this up here so you can see it. It's got a detachable camera module that you can flip if you wanted to track your face or if you wanted to track someone else. It's got a remote so that you can manually adjust everything on the gimbal. It's got a telescoping head so you can lift, I think, another, it's not quite 2 feet, but it is a sizable height advantage. It does come with its own little mini tripod, but I always attach a little bracket so I can use it with a traditional tripod. It's got an AI face tracking solution that's gesture based. So you don't need to use the app. I can just hold up a palm or I can throw an OK sign. I think there's also a two hand, like if I want to reset the frame. So if I want to be off center, I can reset and then it'll keep me off center in the frame as I move around. It is an incredible piece of technology. I have a video review on it. I absolutely love this thing because then I'm using phone cameras to control all of this. Wirelessly control it. If I want to be farther away, I can aim and kind of refocus in that way. It is really, really cool. This is $270. You have to use it with a phone, and it is definitely a lot bigger than these Insta360s and Osmo Pockets. But I don't know. I just have a hard time with what am I trying to achieve with a stabilized video shot, and I don't know. This is why I'm a phone nerd. I love shooting this kind of stuff off of a phone, so it's pretty good. I saw a couple comments in here, so let's catch back up. Oh, good. So Ishmael and Michael were saying I'm still up, so I didn't lose you on that browser goof. Jumpstart FPV. What's the 200 cycle thing that Google has? So starting, I want to say it was the Pixel 4 started having battery issues, and then the Pixel 4a started having battery issues. And we've seen numerous generations of Pixel phones have these battery problems. And so now, independent of the actual battery health, Google is going to start throttling performance on your Pixels at 200 charge cycles. So if you have a poorer performing battery, that would already be happening. Just the battery degradation would impact the phone's performance, the ability for the chip to go full speed. So it would already be underperforming if you got a bad battery. If your battery is fine, Google's still going to throttle your performance. So once you hit 200 charge cycles, it's going to start impacting full speed charging and what the full frequency of your SoC is. Which, again, I mean, people seem to be fine with, because I keep bringing this up, like why we should have bigger batteries with faster charging. And people are like, no, because someone with 10 million subscribers said fast charging was bad. And like, all right, but my OnePlus, actually, I can take it back to my OnePlus 12, which still has a bigger battery than my Pixel 10 Pro XL. It's still at like 98% battery health, still charges ridiculously fast. And I probably have fewer charge cycles on that OnePlus 12 than I would have had on a Pixel, because a bigger battery means I don't have to charge it as often. And there's less wear and tear when I do charge it, because it will get to an elevated temperature, but it gets to an elevated temperature for a much shorter period of time than the slow charging on a Pixel. And Jumpstart's also asking, is this in all Androids or just Pixels? No, it is not in all Androids. Again, why I've been a big fan of like my OnePluses. My OnePluses have had excellent battery health since they started introducing dash and warp charging. My mom was running a Pixel 6, was it Pixel 6T? Yeah. She had that phone for like 5 years and it still performs well. The only reason she switched to a Pixel, she had a OnePlus 6T. The only reason she switched to a OnePlus 11 was because like some apps started just getting weird with like banking and like her car, like her ability to unlock her car. And she's probably going to be fine on a OnePlus 11 for another 4 years. Roth Sathi, the DJI is so good. I mean, again, I've even gone light with like drones and stuff. So I'm using Hohem for my stabilizer, and I'm using what are those? Got them right over there. What are they called? The little hand piloting drones. Hold on, I've got to. This is gonna bug me. I've forgotten the name of this drone. Hover. I couldn't remember the word hover. So yeah, this is my Hover Pro Max. And so even this guy, like, yeah, it's a It's a slightly smaller 1/1.3 inch type sensor, but shoots really good 4K 60, 4K 120, and 8K 30. And I launch it from my hand. It flies for about 10 minutes, following me around, either tracking me from behind or from the side. I can do fun little spins and twirls. I don't have to pilot it directly, but I can if I want. And I know a DJI is superior. I know it is the better production product, and I'll probably never use one just because of the setup, the extra complexity. When I really just want to go record, and then it just goes zzz, and then it starts recording, and it's pretty great. So I totally get why people would like an Osmo Pocket, because what I just described with my drone is what you must want with the Osmo Pocket. You don't want to put a phone on a gimbal, balance the gimbal, stabilize it, and start going. You just want to pull something out of your bag, push record, and go. So I totally get it. But then you use motion cam and the footage is so good. From Ted, only $270. That is a lot of the cool features on the Hohem that led me to the Luna Ultra. $840 after tax, and I will be buying filters, screen protectors, and insurance, putting me in the $1,000 range. So Ted, I would love, again, I mean, if you feel comfortable sharing and stuff like that, I'd love to hear your thoughts, because you're an excellent photographer and you've been working production gigs and stuff like that. I am always curious what I might miss. My workflow is very unique and is very limited to the kinds of stuff that I like to shoot, the kinds of family videos that I like to produce. And I always want to hear, like, what is it about this style that is encouraging to you, or like what you find you like about it. If you feel like you'd want to share some of that, if it's on the Discord, or if you'd like to collaborate on a video, or on like even an editorial, if you just want to write up an article, I would love to hear your thoughts, because I'll never be able to satisfy that perspective. The person who wants the Osmo Pocket or the 360 Luna, I'm going to be the guy sitting here going the whole time, like, but I have phones, so I would just pollute that conversation. But if you'd be down to share, I would love to hear your thoughts on that. All right. Then I can get this out of the way here. Well, I think that brings us. Oh, yeah, I still had this last story. Let me just go ahead and fire this up here real quick, too. And then I think we should start wrapping this stream up. From Notebook Check, from Marius Mueller, Steam Machine leaker reveals specific dates for announcements and reservations. A leaker believes that an announcement for Steam Machine is going to happen on June 23rd, and that reservations are going to start on June 30th. And again, at the end of this, the updated leak has also reached Reddit, where fans remain cautiously optimistic. Many users are excited and hope that the Steam Machine will launch soon. However, after the many recent rumors surrounding hardware imports, some are worried that this could lead to yet another disappointment. The potential price remains another major concern. Fans are hoping for a price similar to traditional consoles in the $600 to $800 range, but given the recent price increase for the Steam Deck, some now expect the Steam Machine to cost more than $1,000. And until Valve makes a statement official, both the release date and the price remain pure speculation. I still can't understand this. Can someone in my comments help me? Why did we think Steam Machine was going to be significantly under $1,000? I want to bring this up again. Here, let me go to a company that I think actually builds a decent mini PC. So I'm going to pull up Geekom. We're just going to do this right now. And this is, of course, after all of the price hikes and stuff. But we know it's going to be that the Steam Machine is going to use a little AMD APU. So let me do an AMD series Geekom. And come on. AMD series. So let's not go 79, 40, 87. I don't know. So like if I want to go cheaper, so I don't think we should go down to like an 8745. But I don't want to go all the way to, yeah, I mean, like we could go with an AI Max Plus. It doesn't seem like they still do the old A9 with the 8945. It's the A9 Max now. So the A9 with the 8945 HS was like a $900 mini PC. But let's just pull up the A9. I don't think we should do the Mega. Hold on. Mini PC, AMD, A9. No, let's just do the A9 Max, not the A9 Max Mega Element OP. And then we come down here, and the HX 370, 32 gigs of RAM, 1 terabyte SSD, and this is $1,485. So I think we can be pretty confident that before all of this horrific component pricing for RAM and for storage, that this would have been still would have been around $1,000 mini PC. And we're assuming that the Steam machine, which is built, so the thing about a mini PC is that it's this tiny little mini PC, and then you have to have like this big lump of a power adapter because you don't have an integrated power supply. The Steam machine is going to integrate all of that into a shell and a casing that is going to be a bigger, more expensive computer. So before RAM and storage pricing got crazy and out of hand, something below the performance of what the Steam machine is going to deliver would have been over $1,000. Right now, Geekom is saying that the MSRP on this is $1,800, and it's on an amazing sale, bringing it down to $1,500. Where a year ago, this probably would have been more like an $1,100 machine MSRP that you could have found on sale for like $900. My Geekom A9, I think, has 2 terabytes of storage and 64 gigs of RAM, and I think its highest spec pricing was, I want to say, $1,000, and then you could find sales on it for like $899. That Geekom A9 is gonna be less powerful than the Steam machine. At its best price, before all of this went down, there was no way a Steam machine, based on its components, based on its manufacturing, because it's not using a consistent shell. Valve is making their own box for it. They're not using the Nook clone components that a lot of these manufacturers can at least save on some of their manufacturing costs. This was going to be a bespoke machine with a singular chipset from AMD, probably built on standard components, but again, AMD is making them their own chip. How did people think this wasn't going to be $1,000 mini PC? That's what I just cannot understand at all. When the Steam Deck came out and it was kind of price disruptive for what it offered, yes, we can make the argument that Valve is going to make this hardware and they know that it's going to lead to X amount of software licensing, just like consoles. Sony can make this box and they know they're going to make a lot of money on people buying games for the box, so the box should be sold at a slightly lower price. It's okay if maybe you even lose a little money on the box, because to play games on the box, people got to spend more money for the software. But even then, this idea that it was going to be this subsidized $600 machine should never have been seriously considered. I cannot for the life of me understand why now the Steam machine could cost over $1,000. Well, right now, Geekom is selling a slightly lower performance mini PC for $1,500 on sale. So I'm really nervous. I've had this little chunk of cash set aside because I really want to play with Steam Frame, but now I just don't see how Steam Frame can arrive for under 1,500. And I just don't know that I can spend 2 grand on a VR headset and still respect myself in the morning. So I'm really anxious to see what Steam delivers here, because I think just general spending is down all around. If someone spends $1,500 on a mini PC to play games, that's a lot of games they can't buy. That's potentially $1,000 worth of games that they're not gonna buy because they put that $1,000 into the hardware. I understand why people want a Steam machine to be $600. I totally get why. I just don't understand how realistically anyone could see what that performance was going to be, what the mini PC market really looks like, and especially from like Geekom is not one of the most expensive solutions for making a mini PC. I just like to bring them because I genuinely like the machines that they've made. And I made a Steam box. It's not Bazite. I am running Steam OS on the Geekom A9, and it is a noticeably better performing 1080p living room gaming solution than my Steam Deck, right? But it's a $900 system when I bought it. They don't even sell it anymore, and the closest thing I can find to it is on sale right now for $1,500. So a roughly 50% price increase, not definitely not 50% better performance. So if you can find, this is the problem is a lot of people are selling mini PCs right now and taking out the storage and the RAM. So if you can find a good deal on an 8000 series AMD mini PC with the 890M graphics chip, you can make a pretty baller little Steam box. It works really well. Flashing the ROM, installing Steam OS, like, was one of the smoothest Linux installs I've ever gone through, and the performance is very good. I again, I keep it just kind of passively connected to my office TV. I just don't use it that often, but it worked really well. So if you can find a good deal on anything with that 890M graphics chip and a decent amount of RAM, you could probably get pretty close to. I shouldn't say pretty close. I bet a Steam machine will still be noticeably better in frame rates and stuff, but still, I'm getting away from myself here. Uh, I really hope we see an announcement. I think Valve waited themselves out too long. I think the market impact that a Steam machine and that a Valve VR headset, the Steam frame, could have had. I mean, even without what's going on in the world today, I think the impact of those would have been so much more brutal following the momentum closer of the Steam Deck. I think they went so long on the Steam Deck that the impact of a Steam machine or a Steam frame has just kind of fallen off anyway. That the timing on this feels like it was really delayed more than it should be. And then we saw component pricing start to spike. Valve kind of panicked and said, well, hey, what if we just waited it out and we see if the market corrects? And then it didn't. And we're seeing all of those trends get worse, not better. And now they're in a position like, well, at some point we just got to release it. And that's a horrible place to be, because what they're going to do is set the high end price for Xbox and Nintendo and Sony to come in and say, hey, we know we've had to raise prices, but we're not as expensive as the Steam machine. Am I right, guys? Up top. So let's say Steam machine arrives at $1,500. That means your next PlayStation could be $1,000 because it's not as expensive as that PC gaming. Even a Steam machine is going to be more expensive than our $1,000 Xbox. It's going to be more expensive than our $1,000 PlayStation. I mean, I know it really sucks that the Switch 2, they had to do another price hike. Now that's a $700 portable console, but it's not as expensive as the Steam Deck. It's not as expensive as a Steam machine. So unfortunately, I feel like Valve is just they're set up to lose, like no matter what, unless they can come in with some kind of argument to say like, we're going to subsidize this like crazy. We're really going to try and and work with our most passionate, gaming supporters and fans. And I just don't see how that can realistically happen. Not after they raised the price on the Steam Deck. Top of the top spec Steam Deck is now $1,000. Man, it's getting so brutal out there. It's just real gross. All right, so Jumpstart is saying, I think the Pixels don't run motion cam to its full capability either. So I don't know about the Pixel 9, but the Pixel 10 does include support for dual conversion gain. So I don't know what you mean by full capability, but right now, Google is the only company I know of that is allowing full access for third-party apps to dual DCG, which significantly improves video quality. It makes your video sizes a lot bigger, but what you can do in low light, mixed light, the amount of room that you've got in dynamic range to stretch an image, to pull up brightness, the grain, the noise on DCG video is unbelievable. So what the Vivo can do, there are all these little opcodes in motion cam. We found ways to enable DCG without having to root the device. Google is the most straightforward. You don't need to jump through any hoops. You do need to insert these codes or get this template for Vivo so that DCG will work. But motion cam, I believe motion cam doesn't have any limits on a Pixel except for what the hardware can handle. So if you want to shoot incredible high quality video at huge file sizes, the Pixel will let you do it. It's just you can count that the Pixel will probably overheat and shut off the video recording sooner than a Vivo or a Xiaomi. Xiaomi also has the opcode support too. I believe Find X9 also. Someone correct me on that, but I think the Find X9 Ultra, they've been working on opcodes for that also. I don't know. We'll have to see. So, why don't we go ahead and wrap this up? This was kind of a heavy episode, a heavier episode than I was really hoping to. I was looking for other gadget news, and no one really seemed to have anything exciting to talk about. So I was like, oh, hey, we could talk about rugged phones, or I just pulled my Huawei Mate 10 Pro out of retirement for that AI video that I did on the Asus. Like, there's some other things, and you're like, oh, I've got this incredible DAC over here on my desk, this Quest style, just a gorgeous piece of hardware to drive an audiophile portable listening experience. I think we just got to save it, and we'll have videos out on that stuff, and if we want to follow up on it. But no one really seemed interested in revisiting WWDC, and I'm totally fine with that. So we can go ahead and cap this here now. Let me get this out of the way. So stay tuned. Lots of videos coming out. I have the AI video running a language model on the Asus A16. The more I use the A16, the more I'm impressed with what Qualcomm has done in improving the Snapdragon performance, and where Windows is at on ARM chips has been really exciting to see. I'm going to have a tough book video coming out. You want to watch me dump a water bottle of water into the keyboard of a laptop. I love getting to do durability testing on rugged gadgets. To go along with the Tank 5 video that I put out last week. And I'm going to be doing a follow-up on smart glasses, just to kind of share my concerns with people and why we lost the heads-up display so that people can be creepers with cameras on their face. I just feel is a huge, huge miss for the tech industry at large. So stay tuned. Lots of fun stuff coming. Big, long, cool videos, some camera coverage, a low budget phone, I've got stuff that I'm under embargo that I can't talk about. And yeah, have some fun. I take care of, also the plug that we always have to do at the ends of these. I always greatly appreciate people sharing If you see content and you like it, you should share it. If you see content and you want to argue it, or you think that the creator is just doing some kind of rage bait, you need to walk away from it. Right now, you can go to every social media site and see people sharing garbage content because they're going to call that creator out. That's not a thing. All you're doing is advertising bad content for free at the expense of your own mental health and the expense of the internet's community, the hobbies that we care about. Makes everything worse. But if you see an iFixit video and you're like, hey, this is a great video, you should share what makes you happy, not call out the content that you think is rage bait. Because it's the reverse. The more you feed the rage bait, the more rage bait you get, because you just proved that the rage bait business model works. So I greatly appreciate the people who share and comment and support, and any efforts you make for the content creators that you really like is greatly appreciated. You have to know we really appreciate those efforts. And if you have the means, I hope people can come and visit the Patreon, patreon.com/somegadgetguy. There are a bunch of fun perks. I am going to try and work a little bit better this summer to get back on track some of the fun community things we used to do, like game nights and movie nights. I've let those slide a little bit just because video has been kicking my butt in trying to produce content. And I want to get back on track that because the community there is a lot of fun. And I haven't been doing my best in keeping up with the fun of that community. Patreon.com/somegadgetguy. So folks, I will catch you all next week for another episode of the Monday Morning Tech Chat Show on the SGGQA podcast channel. Be safe. Take care of yourselves. Take care of this mental health so you can keep being the amazing tech neighbor we desperately need right now. In an age of horrible consumer education on technology, it's us hobbyists that are going to help fill in the gaps. So I appreciate you doing the good work to help people out because they don't even know that they need it. The marketing is hugely against us right now. So helping people out is a kindness, and we need to extend that more. Catch you back here next week. Be safe. Take care. I love you all, and I'll catch you back.